didn't have a pen and paper. I got to the mic, I'm like, oh, press record. Drive a roll like the partnership, please.
That is exactly how I felt when I started this podcast 5 years ago. Namaste. You're listening to a catalyst for your moments of mindfulness today. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and family, the Catalyst podcast is officially 5. Yay! Yo, I am so excited and a little bit torn because in my mind, time isn't real. You know, everything just is. Everything is just happening. We are all here together on earth. We know this. We made a commitment to do this together. And we're passing the time. We are just enjoying the passing of time. And in that time, one of my greatest, most proudest things that I've ever done, ways that I've ever trusted myself, is to launch this podcast. Because people may see podcasts as a tool to reach new people, to bring in clients. For me, what this podcast represents is my freedom to choose. I made the choice 5 years ago to take myself on my first ever solo trip. And on that trip, I made a decision that I would record audio. I was vlogging on my cell phone, that I would come back home and start a podcast or YouTube. A girl was keeping her options open until I dropped my phone at the bottom of a river while canoeing with my new friend. Shout out to Maddie from Alberta. She held me down that day. She went with me to get my first ever tattoo of the mountains because it's the only thing that I brought back with me. Okay, that and all of the wisdom, insights, and experience I gained from navigating the streets of Alberta by myself without a cell phone. And your girl literally drove across the province. Okay, I earned my stripes that day and I came back to tell the tale. I really sound like back in the day when we won't speak of them. Seriously, that entire experience gave me so much courage and built me and allowed me to build so much trust in myself. Even if 5 years ago, I couldn't identify that that's what I was doing. All I felt was a calling in my heart, in my soul, that I needed to leave. And perhaps at that point, I was choosing escape. I feel like life at that time, think about the year of 2021, life at that time was very loud with fear, with uncertainty, with I don't know who I am, where I'm going, what's next. And so in that time, I decided to make a decision for myself. And that was the beginning of me making a string of decisions that would essentially set me free. And when I say freedom and when I say gaining freedom, it was from all of my inherited patterns, because a lot of how I was viewing the world at the time was through the lens of the people who raised me and the societies that I lived in and the culture that I was raised in. So I heard things like, it's not safe for a girl child to be out at night by herself, much less it's not safe for a girl child to travel by herself. It's not safe to wear short shorts outside. Money doesn't grow on trees. You should save it for a rainy day. You shouldn't spend your money on things like that because it won't come back to you. All of these things. So much that I can't even name all of them right now, but I'm thinking back to a series of interviews that I did last May, and maybe it's time for those to make a comeback, because in those interviews, I interviewed parents, children, and educators about what are the limiting beliefs that they were raised with that they're now not willing to pass on. And so those will be making a comeback here soon. But for the purpose of this video, it's simply reflecting on choosing, even in those moments in life where we feel like we have no choice. And back in 2021, I really felt like, it was possible to settle for the life that I was living at that time, which was totally one-dimensional. Get the corporate job, go up the ladder, meet somebody, start a family, yada, yada, yada. You know how the story goes. Until I realized that is so not me. all of the things that I was learning, all of the things that I know that I picked up from my family, the inherited patterns, were things that I wasn't willing to carry on anymore, including my worldview. And it was time for me to set on a journey to define it for myself. And I didn't do that alone. I learned to connect with my ancestors, my spirit guides, something much greater than me, with people who have been here before much longer than me, and seek guidance through the non-physical. And I know that sounds very woo-woo, very cray-cray, but if you believe in God, it's the same thing. If you believe in that there is life before and after us, it's the same thing. And like I said at the beginning of the video, everything just is. This is just a passage of time. There are multiple timelines that we could be living in at any given moment simply by making a choice. Think about it. Think about if you were somebody who chose to do post-secondary education, you were faced with a choice to choose certain schools. Those certain schools would put you on a different timeline depending on what you chose to study, where you would be living, the people that you would meet, or if you got into a relationship. You chose one person over a number of other people, which would have put you on a different timeline too. You chose a certain career path over many others, which would definitely put you on a different trajectory. And so Catalyst was the trajectory of my choosing. And at the time, I didn't know a single person with a podcast. In fact, shout out to the people who started a podcast 5 or more years ago, because I went to an event back in June of this year. And one of the women that I was speaking to, she was telling me how she also has a podcast. And when I told her how old mine is, she says, "Oh, you're one of the OGs." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." But in reality, I didn't say that because I actually didn't know I was one of the OGs. In my world at the time, I didn't know anybody with a podcast, but of course there were people podcasting like Jay Shetty, like all these people that I see in Hollywood doing this thing. And I just knew I needed an outlet for my voice. And so just like I said at the beginning of the video, or quoting Beyonce, I just got to the mic because I had a mic already. And I was just, speaking my truth, which was telling the stories about how we just have to begin. We just have to take the first step, and everything can be improved upon as we go along. And everything that we will ever need in this existence is already right within us. That's why your girl wasn't so stressed when I dropped my phone and lost the footage, lost photos, lost videos, lost audio. It's all right here. I can recount that story plus so many others. And that's exactly what I do through my podcast. And I found that I have a gift in speaking and influencing and storytelling in a way that inspires people to take action, that inspires people to be the one who creates change and breaks cycles in their lineage. What I see is not only me leading myself and trusting myself, it's me leading my entire lineage, because I bring all of my ancestors in every screen that I occupy, every space that I occupy, every decision that I make. It's not only for myself. It's for all who came before me and all who will come after me, because we are all existing together. And I find so much comfort in knowing that my journey is not only by myself, not only for myself, because that would feel kind of lonely. And I've never once felt lonely. I may do things alone. In fact, I love being alone. But I never feel lonely because I know I'm plugged into something much greater, just like we all are. And we all are here to explore it to whatever capacity and whatever depths we wish. And so I really thought long and hard around what I wanted this 5-year anniversary come back to the podcast to be like. And there was things I considered, like, 5 lessons, 5 strategies. Just kidding. I didn't think about any of those things, but those are kind of typical things to do. But really, I'm just here to share the greatest overarching lesson that this podcast is giving me, which is the freedom to choose, which is knowing that I can trust myself enough to build a life based on my choices, not on the ones that were made for me, not on the ones that I think would be good, not on the shoulds, not on what has been passed on. What's present here and now, that is the greatest blessing. And now the ability to choose might seem small in your view because maybe we make a series of choices every day and we're not really conscious about it. Like, what are we going to wear? What are we going to eat? How are we going to spend our time? Who are we going to spend it with? And little by little, these choices become our life. And when we get conscious and aware of the really big choices that we have to make, like the ones where we do choose the school based on where we truly want to go, not on where we think will be good or what somebody else has told us. Same with the career path, same with the partner that we choose. When we get really intentional about these big ones, and when we get really aware of the patterns that are driving these decisions, for example, is it your parents' voice in your head? Is it society's voice in your head? Or are you finally learning what it is to hear your own voice in your head? Because we're not taught to listen to our own voice or trust our own voice. We are taught to outsource our power and seek external validation for the choices that we make. So the ability to choose consciously, intentionally, being aware of yourself, that is the true freedom and that is the true power. And for me personally, that is something that I'm the first one in my lineage to do that. My mom raised me on survival and she was in survival mode herself. She didn't get to choose a lot. The really big things in her life were not her choosing. And that's my mother. Imagine her mother, my grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, the whole lineage. I am the first one to choose. I am the first one to choose to pursue education, to choose to buy a home, to choose to who I want to be with, to choose to start a podcast, to choose to post this on YouTube, to choose the really day-to-day things and the really life things. And that is the greatest blessing. And that truly feels like magic to me. And I don't take that lightly. And that is why I'm so passionate about bringing forth this wisdom, this insight, this information to help others choose for themselves too. And not only for themselves, but for their lineage. Because I believe leadership is so much about how we lead not only ourselves, our team, our family, but also our lineage. Everything comes down to how much we trust ourselves and also awareness of the patterns that are driving our decisions too. And that is why on this 5 years of my podcast anniversary, 5 years of Catalyst in the world, in workplaces, in some of Canada's largest organizations, in educational institutions, online, I am also bringing forth an immersion for leaders who are ready to understand why you became the person you became today, so you can consciously and intentionally choose who you become next. Like I mentioned, most of us are living from inherited patterns that we didn't actually choose for ourselves. And this program, Rich in Roots, helps you recognize the difference. Because before we can choose how we want to lead, we have to understand how we learned to lead, which is through what we saw growing up, what was modeled to us, what was taught to us. And so this program, after these 5 years of intentionally building, choosing my life, sharing Catalyst across the globe, having thousands of you join me on this journey, this is where we take it deeper. This is where we really look at the richness that is our roots, the ways that we learned, inherited, the origins of our story, how we might use this to regulate ourselves, learn our rhythms, better relate to each other, and define our leadership voice. At the time where this video and podcast is going out, I don't have a definite release date yet, but this month of August, ahead of my 30th birthday coming up on the 22nd, this program will be available for you to join. You may also sign up for the waitlist. I've linked it in the description box and show notes below. So keep close right here on YouTube, right here on the podcast. And of course, follow me on socials at Catalyst by Kaylin so you can be the first to know and join me in this immersion experience. I feel like it is so rich, literally, because of all the self-trust that I've built, because of all the intentional choices that I made to create this life, this offer, and this invitation for you and me to go deeper. Rich in Roots feels really important to me because it is quite literally my life's work. It is the foundation upon which everything in my life, my business, my company, my philosophy is rooted in. It is the foundation of the world that I'm building to invite you in through mentorship, leadership development, and community. For us to gather together to explore these aspects of our roots and to see how we might make intentional choices to rebuild a life that's steady on our own values, on our own vision, on our own roots, instead of what we might have inherited and learned to call it ours. When I reached out to my dear friend and sister, Kat, to film a trailer for this offer, which you'll be seeing soon, I literally told her, it's my legacy. It's my life's work. This is probably the most important thing that I've embarked upon in my life thus far. And this feels extra special because not only are we turning 5, is Catalyst turning 5 on 8/8, I am turning 30 on 8/22. And I said, if I don't do anything for my birthday, I want to have a piece of work in this world that reflects on my 30 years. And in my head, it was sort of like a documentary. And instead, Rich and Roots became this beautiful expression of those 30 years by being exactly that. It's intimate, it's personal, it's expansive, and it also is such a unique take on leadership that I don't hear anybody else talking about. And it speaks so much about lineage and origins and these inherited patterns that, again, come up every single day in our lives, but I've never seen it addressed to this depth and with this care and intention in this way. And I'm not just saying that because it's my program. I've been in a lot of spaces online, leadership containers, mentorship containers, podcasts, and this is truly special because it's from my lived wisdom. And so the greatest birthday gift that I could give to myself is bringing this into the world, because by sharing it with the world, it becomes so much less about me and more about us. More about the step that we're taking to create a world of our choosing, where we have this freedom to speak, to be, to dress, to play, to flirt, to make love, to make art, to connect in such an expansive way. And if you haven't already, please do watch the Collected series here on YouTube, where I outlined a period of my life where I felt like I was in the in-between, where I knew that I was stepping into a new self, but it hasn't fully landed yet. That chapter saw me move to New York, celebrate an anniversary, decide to buy my own home. I traveled to Costa Rica to be in the space of other expansive soul-led women, and everything in my world began to shift. And Rich and Roots is the offer that started to take shape in Costa Rica after living through about a year of like this uncertainty, this unraveling, this shedding of this conditioning, because I was no longer working in corporate. I was no longer in an educational institution. I was fully choosing myself, my path, my dharma. And through all of this, for 9 months, I've been physically building Rich and Roots through the offers, the messaging, the methodology. And I've had so many beautiful women in my corner helping me bring this to life. And there's no better time than now, baby girl, like with the Catalyst podcast turning 5, with me turning 30 in this physical body, in this physical realm, because my soul feels older than 30 for sure. 30 is just whatever the systems label me by. But at the end of the day, it is my solar return. It is my new spin. It is culminating a spin around this sun that has been so transformative. And it feels like a rebirth. It feels like a renewal, but it also feels like such a deep remembrance. Because I'm not birthing something new. The offer is new, but I'm not birthing a new self. I'm not starting anything new. I'm just returning more to who I've always been. And this is what I want for all of us. This is what I want for you to experience through Rich and Roots, this deep remembrance of who you've always been, because there is no worse feeling in the world than to be feeling like you're behind. You need to be somebody else. You need to change yourself. You're not worthy. And these are all things that I've felt before, simply because my life, my way of thinking, myself didn't look like somebody else. And so Rich and Roots is that place where we get to leave all that behind. We get to come back to who we truly are at our core, be seen in that, be celebrated that, and be rooted in that. And so I am so excited to share more on this with you. Just in a short term, there is a vlog coming. I vlogged the entire process of what it has been like to bring Rich and Roots into the physical world. It saw me through so many moments in the span of 9 days, getting my period, dancing around the house, going out to eat, spending time by the pool, speaking with my clients. It's all documented for you. I'm so excited to bring that to you. I also have snippets of the very intentional choices of how and why I filmed Rich and Roots, from the outfit choices, location choices, things in my physical appearance that I chose to do. And I also have a bomb trailer for the offer that, again, my dear friend and sister Kat filmed for me. We worked together, and she is truly like soul family. It's amazing. I can't wait for you to see it. And for now, we are celebrating 5 years of Catalyst, 5 years of connecting with you, 5 years of being here with you, 5 years of sharing my voice, 5 years of helping people sleep better, helping people focus better, helping people make mindful choices and become more self-aware, bringing this work into the spaces that need it most, in schools, in organizations, having my voice heard, building a philosophy and methodology on it that is going to change the lives of even more people. A lot can happen in 5 years, and I'm so excited to see what the next 5 have in store, because I have a feeling it will be even more abundant and rooted. And I'm so excited to be on this journey with you, and I'm so grateful to be a part of yours. Thank you for joining me in this minisode, in all of the others. And I'm so excited to take this beyond the podcast and see you in Rich and Roots as well. I can't wait to share more with you as more becomes available to me. But for now, I invite you to take a moment of mindfulness with me and tune in to your body. And we do so by tuning in to our breath. Deeply inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And sink deeper into the earth beneath you, closing down the eyes, relaxing your shoulders, resting your palms on the tops of your legs. Taking a moment here to connect with your breath, with your body, and expressing gratitude to yourself in this moment. Thank you. You've come so far in your own journey, taking risks, taking chances, making decisions, trusting yourself, anchoring in this moment to honor all that you are, all that you've become, and all that you're becoming. Take a deep breath in here, releasing with love, with gratitude, with trust. You are always cared for. You are always guided. You are always protected. And you are exactly where you're meant to be today. Gently fluttering the eyes, looking beyond the screen before you return. Thank you for joining me in this minisode. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening or watching this podcast right now, because there is so much more in store, especially as we begin the preparations to welcome Rich and Roots into the world. I'll see you there.